Hello and welcome to the ThreeWill podcast. This is your host Danny Ryan. I have my co-host here with me, Tommy. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Danny. Good morning.
Yeah, I missed getting together last week. It's nice having some little bit of time sitting down with you every week. It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
This week I wanted to maybe it's a little bit of a follow-up from other conversations that we've had, and just wanted to spend a little bit more time on it, which is talking about creating a lifestyle business. When I describe sort of we've talked about like the history of the company and sort of the evolution of the company over time. And I think one of the things that has had an impact on us as a business as far as where we are today is this underlying goal for us to create a lifestyle business. I guess just to kick this whole thing off, when I say a lifestyle business, what does that mean to you?
Well, I don't even think about creating a lifestyle type business, more of a business that supports a work-life balance, kind of your personal goals, your work goals, career goals, and kind of keeping a balance between those two, that it's not all about work, but it's also, it requires commitment to work, but you're leaving room, margin for, your family or significant others in your life. And the other aspect is being able to enjoy where you work, creating a good company culture. So I think we all think about, are we keeping a great culture at ThreeWill? And I think a part of that great culture, includes work-life balance. And those two aspects together, to me, probably define, a lifestyle business at a high level.
This seems like it would be, consulting is a tough business. You're constantly having to reinvent yourself. You need to stay ahead of your customer becoming out, and so it's in itself is a very difficult business to be in. How does that factor into, that's the core business that we're in, and continuing to keep a balance, and creating an environment where people can stay balanced in that environment?
You've got to be very intentional about how you structure a company that will be a lifestyle type business. I think when you look at, as you say, consulting, it really goes against the grain of a lifestyle business in a lot of aspects, because the economic engine is the more you work, the more money you get. And as part of a business, the existence of a business is creating, profit. And so when you look at how do you create more profit, well, you work more hours. But that doesn't really play into to a work-life balance. So we have been very intentional about how we set up utilization, how do we set up, how people take vacation, what roles people play in the organization, so they have enough margin to play the roles that they have outside of projects. So those are kind of the important aspects to say, okay, we've got this goal. It's a reasonable goal to achieve, and at that goal, we're healthy as an organization. If we go beyond that, we're going to go out of balance, and so let's be careful about the incentives we put in place that bring us beyond what we think is a good target to be healthy and be able to function well as an organization.
That's great. I want to dive into a little bit deeper into these different aspects. The first one I'd like to get into is with the roles. How do we set this up so that let's say somebody who's like a principal consultant has time that's on projects, and then has time that may be doing pre-sales and maybe doing other activities. How do we structure the utilization to allow for that to occur?
Yeah, we just do some simple math. We look at, all right, how much time do we need on average from someone playing a principal consultant role to be in sales and marketing type activities, and kind of inspect to what that really is, year after year, and calibrate to, okay, we need 8 hours a week to support sales and marketing functions. So we will adjust the goal to say, let's provide that margin for the person that's doing that more often everybody works on sales and marketing activities. Everybody's doing blog posts. Everybody will occasionally go to a sales call, but we ask of our principals more time towards that. So we've given some margin to allow them to do the activities that help feed that next project. Because if they put all that time and energy towards just billing, that's great for the existing projects, but where's the next project come from?
Yep. And so their expectation is, a certain number of hours, something less than 40 for billable, and then a certain other portion of hours, the expectation is to be working on pre-sales and other activities that they have out there. So it's almost like they can, on a weekly basis, be looking at what hours they're spending towards what and making sure that they're allocating their hours appropriately.
Right. I think naturally a consultant will just think about how many hours am I billing.
Yeah.
And we constantly have to remind people that we are carving out time. We are saying 8 hours. So, when there are times that the principal consultant needs to help, we try to take away that stress of, I need to bill. Well, we've set aside time to do this activity. So it's accounted for, and we can do that without impacting the overall team. Because we do have a team goal. I mean, everybody gets compensated on our variable comp based on the company making the utilization. So there's a tension that I want to make my goal because I don't want to impact the rest of the team. So we want to make sure that we're adjusting those goals based on where you are and the roles that you play in the organization. And we have one person in our organization that is putting some effort towards supporting our interns. We have 3 interns this summer. 2 of them are technical interns, and the technical
Austin's
interns,
pretty technical too. He's getting technical. I'm
Yes.
bringing him over to the
I
dark
saw he
side.
just got certified in Google AdWords, so that's more than what I have. But so he needs to invest some time there.
Yeah.
So we are carving out a certain amount of time so he can invest into the interns so they can have a positive experience and we can have more progress in what they accomplish this summer.
I think that's key, because if you just keep on adding these expectations and roles to people that on them, and you're not really factoring that into their work week, then you overwhelm people, I think.
Right.
So I think it's important that you set this expectation of saying, hey, it's going to take some time for you to go do this. So we're going to pull some time out of your utilization that you would typically be spending on projects to go and do this.
Right. I mean, we have on average we think people are doing things outside of billing. So we create some of that margin, to do kind of those day-to-day things outside of billing. It's when we get to a point where we're going to intentionally pull you into a lot of activity that's going to take away from your time to bill, then we say we need to adjust that so you can have your work-life balance.
Great. The other thing I want to talk about that sort of relates to this is how does, I think you mentioned it, was how does PTO factor into this, and also a little bit about BTO as well. I think that helps with understanding our culture, and so maybe let's talk about that for a little while.
So PTO, we've changed this over time. We've kind of inspected it and adapted. We originally had a utilization goal, and it was based on, this is the goal for the year and total hours, and let's just break it up and spread it across week after week. So, when you were working, you would go way above that because, we spread that across the year. But when you would take vacation, all of a sudden your utilization would go down. So we adjusted it where when you're taking, PTO or there's a holiday, that counts as an 8-hour day. That's not, necessarily rocket science, or other consulting organizations do that. But we made that adjustment, kind of being new to how to run a consulting business. We said that's not creating work-life balance, because if someone is right on the edge of making their utilization goal, and then they've got an important family thing to do, and it requires PTO to take that, then they're in this tough decision of do I let down the team and myself from a compensation standpoint, or do I go take this vacation? And so we have created it where, when people go on vacation, it does not tank our utilization. I mean, last week we were expecting something like 90 and it ended up to be 100. And we said, oh yeah, Eric took vacation this week. So it actually helped in utilization because he didn't have a project on the horizon. It also encourages when people are off projects and they have PTO built up to go take that PTO because you can, when you're not assigned to a project, get that done, and then that keeps the utilization up. Yep. And it keeps us from building up a lot of PTO where people are getting out of balance because they never take that time to take the PTO. I can never, get that opportunity to do it because I'm going to let down the team if I go take PTO. And the other thing that you mentioned, VTO, something that has come through the ThreeWill Foundation that you're leading up, and that ThreeWill Foundation, one aspect that we have is let's give back to the community, and that's volunteer time off, and it acts just like PTO. When you take that time off, it's like working for a day. It doesn't count against you, and so your utilization stays up when you take that time off. So it's really people even struggle taking that time off because when they're on a project, you always have that tension of, I don't want the project to fall behind. But we try to create kind of incentives that will lean towards a work-life balance. And we know we hire people that are driven, and so we don't have to worry about kind of the stick mentality of driving people as much as let's give you that balance so you continue to stay driven and not get burned out.
Nice. The thing I liked as well is how things are set up around here with regards to sprints and capacity on sprints. So like if you're going to take some time off, they know not to assign you, what can't get done within those 2 weeks. And I like the whole idea of capacity and seeing what the team can do, and it's almost like we've got this built-in mechanism to not overcommit ourselves on projects.
Yeah, it's beautiful because you can get into a situation where you overcommit.
Yeah.
And then that 2-week sprint, by the end of it, it was tough. You maybe put in a lot of extra effort to get there. Maybe you just didn't get there.
Yeah.
And now you go into the next sprint, you can recommit. What am I pulling into the sprint based on what I've learned from the past, and what types of adjustments do I need to make? And then some of those adjustments are, someone needs to take a day off. Something's coming up personal. There's a funeral. You can't control those things as they come up. You go into the next sprint, you can plan for those things. You can say, I'm going to have less capacity from the team, so let's not overcommit and create an undue stress to the team when we know we only have this capacity.
It's not. I think that really helps because there will be times, stressful times on projects where just things need to get done, but we know we're not. It's not like often in consulting you have death marches, which is the next 6 to 9 months will be horrible, and everybody, the team knows it, and everybody. It's just sort of this thing you get, and I like it that we're not, we don't commit ourselves to things like that.
Yeah, I think we're very good about avoiding death marches.
Yeah.
I think it's our attitude. I think it is our methodology, and we've been in a lot of situations where it can naturally lead to a death march, and you just have to be brave enough to make the right decisions along the way, and our culture and our process, I think, encourages us to make those tough decisions so we don't create a death march situation.
One of the things that I really love that Bruce focuses in on when he's putting together product backlogs is making sure we have the acceptance criteria. Again, I think a large part of this, of the issues that people run into, are either making vague commitments or not really being upfront about what they're doing, what is success on a project or in a sprint. And he takes the time to go in and make sure we have acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria, for folks who are not familiar with Scrum, it's basically saying you write a requirement, typically in the form of a user story, and you say, if I've done this, this is acceptable to both sides as far as what should happen. So it's sort of something where you're saying, well, if this is done properly, you and I can both sit down and look at this and say, yes, we've delivered this. The reason why I like that is because it's you mentioned this as we were talking earlier. It's begin with the end in mind. It's talking about if I'm going to do this thing, what is success for getting this one user story done.
Right. And I think, keeping a work-life balance, a key aspect of that is being good about setting expectations.
Yeah.
Setting realistic expectations that we can meet or exceed. And that keeps the relationship going with our clients. It also helps our teams not get out of balance, because there's implicit expectations that we really don't know, and we're figuring them out along the way. And there's always a little bit more, versus saying, okay, this is our goal, and let's achieve that goal. If we want to go after a new goal after that, that's fine. That might require different resources, maybe more time, more budget, but let's achieve the goal that we set out to do. And I think what we're finding, and I don't want to go too far down the process route, but what we're finding...
That's fine. It always leads to process. To go that way. It's fine with me. I brought up the dirty word, so you can continue to go. Yeah.
I think we're moving towards doing more envisioning type engagements, and it seems a little counter to agile. But what I think it does is that, one, it blows out more detail around what is the goal, and not getting into the nitty gritty, of wasting, detailed design around something that you really don't need to go that far until you get to a point of you're going after it in a sprint. But when we do these envisioning engagements, one, it builds a relationship. It gives us an understanding of what's important, and it allows us to get what those expectations are. And that way we can go into a project really setting ourselves up to, exceed expectations. Otherwise, there's a little bit more of a shot in the dark. Now, our agile estimations, I think, have been great. But every once in a while, you get something where the customer, not intentionally, but just doesn't show you all the detail, and you estimate it based on what you see. And if you do that in like a couple hours of exposure to the business problem, you're at risk of missing some things. So we're starting to think more about what is that small, really fixed cost, so there's low risk investment from the customer for us to work together to set those goals of what is success.
Austin and I, we're not running sprints, so we're not quite there yet, but we are doing daily stand-ups, and that helps for us to adjust a little bit. I think I've been throwing a lot of things at them, and we're seeing what sticks, what doesn't stick. But in order for us to make some of the adjustments, we're just getting together and doing daily stand-ups, and I think it's helping us. It's sort of keeping us, we have some overall goals for this internship, but then sort of tracking along the way. It's nice to do the stand-up where you're getting together and sort of talking about what happened yesterday. We both look at each other like, I know I worked hard yesterday, but I can't remember what happened yesterday. But I think, to me, the important part is talking about what you're doing. What are you doing in the next 24 hours as well? Right. It's just taking a little bit of forethought and saying, marketing's tough because you're not sure where you're going to get the most value out of what you do next. And so you're sort of weighing a bunch of different options out there. And I think the two of us just sort of talking through, well, I can focus in on this and I'll go after this. And has helped us out as well, I think, expectation-wise. And we may add some other Scrum stuff into our stuff, maybe.
Now, do you actually stand up during your stand-ups?
Do we stand up, Austin?
We do stand up.
You're going to have to go teach the delivery team about standing up.
Well, a lot of this original idea with the lifestyle business came from you and I, early conversations where we were really challenging ourselves to say, hey, can we love what we do at work. We're very passionate about what we do at work, but we wanted to, at the end of this all, to have also a great relationship with our wives, a great relationship with our children, and not miss the important things in life.
Right.
And so I think that's a large part of why we're trying to create this lifestyle business. it leads to us, because I think because of the choices that we've made, we're at a point where we've been in business for 15 years. We're a 30-person company. We've got just the greatest people who work here. I love the people that we're able to work with, but we're not huge, and I think that's a part of some of the decisions that we made. That doesn't drive us. I mean, it's more of what is the environment around here than how many people we hired last month.
Yeah, and I get a kick out of the companies we work with, and the type of work that we do is at such a large scale.
Yeah.
We go into organizations and do things at the large Fortune 100 companies that these large consulting companies can't do at the level of success that we have. So that's exciting to me. I think it's a little bit of the minimalist attitude, kind of less is more, and I think when we do have such a really tight team, we can go in with confidence that we've got an A team every time we go in, and that gives you less stress, I think. I was actually having breakfast with Bruce this morning. We do kind of a when he's in town every once in a while, we'll go out and catch up. I'm sponsoring Bruce and just there to make sure we take some time to just talk, because we have a lot of work that we do day to day. And we were just reflecting on what we like about ThreeWill, and it really has been people caring and just people that get the job done. And we always feel that we don't go into projects worrying about, do we have a team that can be successful, because we have such great people, and that is very gives a lot of job satisfaction. And so it's one of those things that I think, from a work-life balance, the thing that we give back to the people at ThreeWill is we're not putting them in a situation where they're going to regret, I didn't take time to be a part of whatever is my personal life. If that's a family, if that's friends, whatever that is, that we didn't create a situation where they could not do that. And to be able to run a business and have people that get a good compensation, a good work environment, and they can be connected outside of work.
Yeah.
That's that's so much better than being running a business that we get to the size of Accenture. I see more success. I see more fulfillment out of that, and I don't want, and I think we're both like this. We do not want to look back and say, oh, we did this professionally, but we have a really messed up personal life.
Yeah.
And everybody's has their struggle. No one has a perfect personal life, but it's hard enough to do it without having a work situation that pulls you in and doesn't give you that opportunity to at least try. Yeah. And we want to give everybody at ThreeWill that opportunity of, you can come in and work your butt off and really do a great bang-up job, do some awesome things, and you can have a personal life where you actually make an impact on your family and your community. And I'm proud of that, and I know you're proud of that.
Absolutely. One last thing, and I think you and I could probably talk for a while about this subject. It's been a great subject. Is you mentioned sponsors, and how does that fit into this? Was the idea of sponsors, I think, came from the both of us, from some of your interactions at WL Gore. Came from when I worked at Intel, I had a sponsor, and it was a different concept than this whole manager concept. How does that fit into making sure that people are to this whole idea of a lifestyle business?
Yeah, I think it fits into a lot of aspects, and as it relates to lifestyle, it's the culture. Yeah. I think it supports the culture of, we want people to choose to succeed. This whole free will thing, that's an important shared value for us. We want an environment that people are self-motivated, that will just naturally choose to do the right things, And in a boss environment, in a highly hierarchical, structured environment, you tend to back off on that free will aspect in the way you run your business. And so having kind of an upside down type of approach in terms of how we structure people leading other people, having sponsors allows us to help people be successful. And, at the end of the day, I think it's a culture aspect. Work-life balance, I don't know if it really, quote, impacts that, but as it relates to, feeling like I come into work and I don't have anyone kind of telling me something to do, more of an autonomous type environment, we attract people in our type of work. We're problem solvers, and we don't want things to get in the way to that problem solving. There's enough challenges at our clients' environments that we don't need to add any more of that barrier to be successful.
I know for me as a sponsor, I feel like one of my roles as a sponsor is almost like an accountability partner for making sure that they're staying balanced in their life.
That's true.
We're just sort of, I'm fortunate enough to sponsor Kirk, and there's times in which he's he's very passionate, very
he's one of the hardest working
people here, and I just want to when I check in with him, I just want to make sure, hey, are you not making sure you're over committing to things, and making sure you're not working too many late nights, and there's stresses that come onto projects, but I think that's
very true, and I think that's a common conversation with sponsors and the people they sponsor is, how are you doing? Are you keeping that balance? Because if you encourage and hire people that are self-motivated, they naturally will put themselves out of balance because they want to achieve at work.
This is great. Having a great culture starts with you, and you've done a lot to create this environment in here, and I really appreciate all that you've done to make sure we stay true to what we say, and this is great being in a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
It really is.
No regrets.
No regrets. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time to listen. This one went a little bit long, but if you can't tell, it's a subject we're pretty passionate about. But thank you, Tommy, again for taking the time to do this.
You're welcome. Thank you, Danny.
You betcha. Everybody, thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.